Hello, this is colleague J.N.S with Nakhti University, and happy Friday. I hope you guys are having an awesome day as well as an awesome week. Um, I have to say, I'm excited about today's topic. We've been doing this music series, talking about music, me even, on my journey in exploring music, from, just actually getting, to learn music production rather. And I do admit I'm a novice, and also experimenting, and also learning. And so it's a very humbling process. But I wanted to really, become like a benefactor of the arts and really support, especially youth in music and in art. And so I think it's important at Nakhti University to have a curriculum or to, start that department, in terms of expression of art for art's sake, and even for those who make a living doing art and being artists. That's very important too, to come up with, different ideas of how one could support one another, how the public can support artists more. And so I have to say, that's the reasoning behind the music studies department. And so I do have to say, eventually, we'll talk about other things like the civic and governance affairs department. I still want to do an update on the Nakhti order in terms of the website we were building, because that's almost done. So we'll be doing a deep dive into the update and the progression of the Nakhti order as it relates to the site and governance and civic affairs and whatnot. But today we want to still focus on music theory, but we're going to look at it from like a different perspective. I'm still in the process of understanding things, more in a technical sense when it comes to music, because I usually just go by ear, and even dabbling with, different types of software and learning what all these things mean in terms of music. Like I said, it's exciting, but also kind of like challenging, because it's like, what does all this stuff means? And so, but it's also therapeutic. And so I like, okay, my next step is I want to get some sort of instrument, a actual keyboard where I can play around and do, a better, uh, I want to say, I just want to get more creative with it, because right now I'm playing with these software stuff, and that's not, to me, that's not good enough. Like, I actually want to, learn an instrument. But I have to say, it's like I said, it's intimidating for me. But I want to discuss the 12 universal laws as as it relates to being found in music itself. As we know, music as a universal language, and one of the like we can't speak, the same languages, we don't understand nothing. The beauty of music is that it can transcend all of that, regardless of the language that it's in. We know when we hear a certain cadence, we know when we hear something that bops, something that just is amazing, regardless of the genre, you know. And so if you hear good jazz, if you hear good R&B, you hear good rap, you hear good country, good rock and roll, you hear something within the way it's produced. It tells a story, and that's the beauty of music. It's a grand expression of math, of spirituality, of nature, of the dignitaries, of the elements. Is something really special, as we know, about music. It keeps us going, and it represents the sound, vibration, the intention, the literally the message. Is so much packed into music. And so that's why I was just thinking, I'm like, the 12 laws of the universe is actually found in music. It really is. And so I want to go over that and break that down. Like, okay, what do we mean when we say that? But I have to say, I know last week I said that I had some hot fire. It's supposed to be ready. The song is done. I just want to make a nice little video with it. So the actual song that I wanted to share today, I want to show it with the video. So I'll upload it next week, and then we'll play it and whatnot. Because when I do make my little songs or whatever, or productions rather, because a lot of times I'm using samples, and now I'm actually starting to um, get into the process of writing the song, like thinking of melodies, thinking of harmonies, and then writing the song, and then having a beat, even if I have to license, commercially license a beat out and just purchase the license, I'm willing to do that as well. And I've also made some beats too. So next week, what I'll get to show is like my actual beat making. I had took a song that was completely a cappella and made a beat, a classic beat, like classical music, violins, just a beautiful violin, piano, nice bass, just something, a classical song, a classic music to like a R&B slash gospel song. And so adding that classical music with that beautiful violin, making it sound like a, like a classic song. I was really, I thought that was so cool. And then I started trying to do some R&B beats and making my own little stuff. And so, just playing around. It's therapeutic. It's fun. I see why people, like to produce music and make beats and stuff. I totally get it. It's relaxing. And then it's the creative process. And, at this time, it's sometimes it's not, I overthink a lot and I'm always thinking, but I have to say this allows me to just still think, but more on that abstract creative plane where I'm not worried about the woes of the world. Not to stop making other people problems my problems. That's the goal of many of us. Happy Friday, Royal Deluxe. And you said show us your mixtape. You know what? Like I said, I'm serious. But I want to do music. I want to think about the message behind my music, and I'm not, like I said, I do everything independent. Anyways, I live in my own little IPU. My own ideal parallel universe. So, um, I don't be. I'm not looking to get into the to music industry, but as far as music itself, yeah, I have absolute interest in it. I can actually sing, right? So it was like, I might do like a, not a mixtape, but probably just some songs and put on Nakhti University, because I am doing a lot of experimentation, like with Sanskrit mantra music, and then combining that with house, or combining classical music with R&B and gospel. Like I took a acapella gospel song with R&B and just threw some and made a classic beat to it, like something real, like put you in a mind of the classic song, classical music. So I was doing that, playing around with that, so I just like it for music's sake. And last week I had made a comment, like I kind of came off as if I was judging people who had I said something where I was talking about how Sun Ra was doing music for the sake of just pure money. And I didn't want that to be interpreted like I judge people who make money off of their music, because that wasn't what was the point of me bringing up Sun Ra saying that. Um, it was, he was coming from the lens of the corporations that co-opted the music to solely take the soul out of it, like controlling every aspect of the production, where the artists don't have maybe creative control over what they're singing. But that's kind of what I was thinking of. But I wasn't trying to make it seem like people shouldn't get compensated for their artistry in terms of the music that they whether they're performing and whatnot. That's not what I meant. And I don't know if people took it that way, but the way when I replayed it, I was like, wait a minute, that kind of sound like, I hope people don't think that I'm trying to say people shouldn't make get paid or compensated for their work in artistry. So no, that's totally not the case. I was thinking more so from the perspective of um people could say industry plants, but that's not quite it either. Like people that was just solely seeing it as a means to an end. And usually I would say that will come from the executive level, because um, most people that express any sort of artistry, whether they have the talent or not, it's a creative outlet. It's a creative expression. So, and I do think that people should be compensated for that. And that's why we did the framework last week. That's why we did the whole framework to talk about like what kind of distribution methods that are physical, um, for the youth, and even independent artists, like some of there was the young women out here going independent and whatnot. So I was thinking about that. Um, And also another thing about that framework from last week, because there's a lot of AI artists coming out. They got an AI artist that just got $1 million deal or some shit like that. And so another thing with the flash drive method in terms of people who do meet and greets or who have perform at local shows is that that's the proof that the person is a real person. Like if you see them out there hustling, they their music in person still, going old school style with it, or even upsell at certain opportunities and engagements that they have, that shows that they're not AI. So that's another thing, because the AI, they making songs out here, R&B songs that's making people cry. I hear they saying like the songs is sounding like Monica, songs is sounding like Keisha Cole. That's what they saying is out here now, and they some motherfucking AI, dude. And so I was like, what? And they got the AIs looking like Carrie Hilson and shit. They got the AIs looking like Anne Marie, real pretty and shit, and brown. And and they got the AI record deal. Oh, that's terrible. Of course, I don't agree with it. Me personally, I suspect that there will be movements against, people that I know. But I was looking at, there were people that like, I'm not going to support and buy AI music. They kind of was like they want to hear from the actual production of a human, and the talent from the human. So I mean, we'll see where it goes. I know where I stand on it, because I do think that effort, a gift is a gift, and I do think that people with talent, that's putting in work, I think that speaks to me. I put that on as on a premium, just using that versus just using the AI that studies and mimics the essence of real artists, and then like, hurry up and make this beat, hurry up and write. They write the lyrics now. They write the AI write the lyrics. It writes the song. It does the beat. You could just type in, make a J Dilla beat, make a Ninth Wonder beat with lo-fi and saxophone, and it will do that. And it's something about that. It just takes the creativity out of it. And so I with me even doing my little makeshift production, it don't sound perfect, and you can tell it's not an AI doing it. It's like me behind the scenes trying to push and find something, see what chords sound right. Okay, I don't understand none of this. Go and Google and research something, or just go by ear, But you could hear that imperfection in it. You could tell that it's somebody that's pressing something that may not even know what they're doing, but it's coming from this space of me really wanting um, to get involved in a creative process, and learn on as I'm creating, just in a state of learning, you know. And see, Royal Deluxe, he says he writes lyrics, but he doesn't know anything about music production. See, me either. See, I'm learning. See, I'm learning, and I enjoy it. Oh, I can't wait till I play that beautiful masterpiece for y'all next week. And like I said, it sounds like a masterpiece in my eyes, but I'm pretty sure those who got musical ears, they can be like, these are two different chords, or the transition was, I'm pretty sure they could probably just rip it to shreds, right? But from my ear, I'm just going off of the ear. I'm like, that sound pretty dope. Sometimes I had to speed the pitch of a song up, change the semitones, change, I'm looking at, okay, what's pitcher, what's compressor, what's all these things, what's tremble, it's just so much, but it's exciting. And I said, you know what? I was making my little beats. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna have a ball making this video," and I wanted it to be prepared for by today. But I like to take my time, so I said, "Well, it'll be ready next week," And I'm excited. We got Miguel Gonzalez. He says that's the type of beat I like with gospel and choir music. Ooh, so what kind of beat? Miguel Gonzalez says, what kind of beat you say you like, gospel and choir music? Yeah, so I put some classical music with it. Because I don't know if you guys remember Take Six, they got them harmonizing brothers. It's six of them. They harmonize like a motherfucker. And they amazing. So they sing some acapella, and so I got a clip of them singing acapella, and I just made a beat for to the song. I made a classical beat, then I did R&B beat, like R&B with lo-fi, real it's giving real 90s genuine type shit. I said, "Ooh, this sounds sexy," and I sped it up and changed the pitch of it. But I kept, but in the it literally shifts from classical, then it goes into like the R&B, and then um I shot out another. There's a small clip of another artist that's production, which I will tell people that that's the part that's not my own, but the rest of the beats I've created all those beats. So I did like 4 different beats with the same type of theme, same song, and then I ended um with some, because honestly, all the clips that I use is going to teach you like a lesson. So we showing some 1970s um you know clips, and then I'm going to be talking at the end. There's like a small little part about Hannibal Barca and Carthage, that particular military general. So it's like, as far as what my eye see, as far as I already made the clips, and I just got to put it to the song, and it'll be prepared next week. I'm excited, motherfucker. I ain't even gonna hold you, because I've been listening to it. I hope the public like it. Anything don't, oh well, sound good to me. But you said I like the Sun Ra mix you made. Oh yeah, I enjoyed that too. I've put them little clips together. I'll be finding little niggas and stuff. It looks so cute and adorable. And I'll be putting them clips. I've found some beautiful clips of Michael Jackson, beautiful clips of um different Aaliyah, different artists and stuff, and just put it together, and it just looks so cute. But that's just me being Jenny. I have to say, that's just me being Jenny. You said I kind of want to make a Nakhti song. It sounds like you would be opposed. What do you think? When you say make a Nakhti song, I mean that's, but it sounds like you would be opposed. What do you mean by why would I be opposed? And I mean, I guess it depends on the context. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed. I guess it depends on what it was about. You know, when you say Nike song, I guess I would need more context or clarification on that. But I'm not necessarily. You said I have some AI songs, little jingles for my shows. Okay, okay. Not the lyrics, but that's what's up. Let me see this song. So Miguel Gonzalez said he likes the song "Father Stretch My Hands." Okay. I'm gonna check it out. Father, stretch my hands. 'Cause I like gospel music. Actually, enjoy listening to gospel. So I wouldn't be. I actually want to probably. Yeah, I'll do that now. I actually want to look that up. Father, stretch my hands. I want to see who sings it, and then we want to get to the. Who sings that? Ooh, Kanye West sings that. Okay, I never heard that before. Okay, he didn't. This was a gospel song. You say? Cool stuff. Cool stuff. But let's talk a little bit about. I thought I was sharing the other. Okay, so I want to share screen here. Share screen and then go to music theory. So let's talk about music as universal language, and then how the 12 laws of the universe are found in music. So the first law that we know is the law of divine oneness. So if you are new um, to the 12 laws of the universe, I am going to state which one, what it is, what it means, and then how it relates to music. And so, if you are listening to this, you probably know what already as far as the 12 laws of the universe. But if not, it's just general principles. I'm not saying that those are the only laws. Obviously, there are more laws of the universe, but these are just the 12 ones that, in terms of that, can be found in some aspects of Hermeticism, as well as um, Gnosticism, and even Buddhism. But I do have to say, we talk about 12 laws of the universe. We're dealing more so, in my opinion, we're dealing more in the realm of like theoretical physics. Now, I can't say that obviously the field of physics recognize the 12 laws of the universe. I don't think they probably do. But to me, when I think of the 12 laws, just as like a science, I would put that under the realm of theoretical physics. When we talk about like things like string theory or the theory of relativity, or the double slit experiment, like if a object is only real once it becomes into your perception, and if it's and the behavior of energy changes whether you're observing it or not, or aware of it or not, rather. That to me kind of gets into the woo woo of things in terms of theoretical physics. So I'm like, if you think of that, even the concept of behind the double split experiment, or quantum entanglement, or string theory, when you compare it to the 12 laws of the universe, I would say think of it more so under the umbrella of sound. When we talk about theoretical physics, if someone is like really like okay on some philosophical professorial shit, seriously, like look at those 12 laws of the universe, and then when you think of sound, when you think of sound and frequency, I think, just hear me out, I really think, and I'm saying this from this realm of someone this is more in tune with the divine feminine. I think there's a connection, there's a hidden connection. I do think that a physicist would be able to find that connection between these 12 laws of the universe and sound. Just sound as a study. We understand sound of, we can hear, we understand echolocation, we understand the different frequencies and hertz and all those things. But the 12 laws of the universe, as it relates to sound resonance, what creates light, which is obviously what creates electromagnetism. But before you get there, the resonance, awareness, you know um and starting from, and in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God. It's with the understanding of frequency, sound, I think that there's a hidden connection that could be explored. And that's why I state that the 12 laws of the universe can be found in music. So the first one is the law of divine oneness, or the one of connectivity, the law of connectivity. So what that law means is that all things are connected. They're a part of a unified whole, even if they're not aware of one another, even if they feel separate from source. They're connected at least to source, operating at different frequencies. Now, when you think of like an orchestra, or you think of music itself, it illustrates that law. You have each instrument, it maintains its range, its timbre, yet all of those tones blend into a single harmonic whole. You got the saxophone, you got violin, you got trombone, you got trumpet, all these different frequencies and different sounds. You got piano, harp, but when it comes together, it represents that single harmonic whole. And it creates this tapestry of a beautiful sound. So independent melody lines, they still retain their individuality. You have to read your own music. You have to understand what's in front of that sheet. You got to understand the cadence and tone. You don't want to mess your part up. Your part is important. When you're playing that trombone, you're playing that saxophone, your part is important. But it serves that larger polyphonic texture of the orchestra, or as Sun Ra would say, the orchestra. Just as all beings remain unique while belonging to that same cosmic source of the creator God of the universe. Now, people may not call the term creator God of the universe, maybe say source, whatever, that's your business. But when we think of sound itself in music, and then the orchestra, and then when we think of the law of connectivity or oneness, or the purpose, maybe people call that singularity. I don't quite call that singularity myself. Um, I think sound and theoretical physics can bridge that gap. So let's go to number 2, the law of energy and vibration. And so everything has a specific frequency. Everything is energy and is going to vibrate at a certain frequency. And so obviously we know that. We know that if you could put up MRI scan, what's it called? Not MRI, KJE. What is it? Is it FK? There's one of them technologies where you can measure brain waves. and you can measure the frequency of certain emotions through the brain waves. Obviously, your Wi-Fi signals carry radio signals and waves, different waves. So everything is energy. The fact that you take that text message and send it over the waves. You use your Wi-Fi. You use it something somehow the message gets through. That's the denser version of it. You can see it through the phone. Supposedly encrypted. You could do it through your head. For those of you really sophisticated, but nonetheless, um, you know, there everything is a vibration. And even when you say like, okay, with things, they have to, if you don't even believe in neutrons, electrons, and protons, and then the way that the electrons are vibrating based on its perceived density, solid, liquid, or gas, that could be just get into the details of things. Those details don't matter, right? I mean, maybe they matter, but at least in our everyday life, they don't matter. But we know that we can feel energy. We can tell when somebody okay, you got a good vibe. I like your energy. You got a bad vibe. I don't think you really like me. I don't think you fuck with me. You could pick up on things. You can see energy everywhere. You can turn your light bulb on, turn it off, electricity, you can see it. Okay. And so that's what that means. Now, as it relates to music, every pitch is a vibration measured in hertz. Okay. Even silence is a vibration below the threshold of hearing. And so the overtone shows how a single vibrating string produces infinite harmonics. And so that reflects layered frequencies, even within, you know, um, certain emotions. Like when we talk about, they say you create a song and you have a certain intention and certain emotion that you imbue in the song. That also affects the frequency of the actual music production. So say for instance, love is at 528 hertz. You produced a song about love. So your intention, your message was love in the song. You probably may have you recorded at 432 hertz, 440 hertz, whatever. But your message, your intention was a frequency of 528 hertz already. Then the lyrics, so that was just the message, but then the actual frequency of the beats that you use, the chords and things that you play. So some people will tune it to 432 hertz, which is 432 is out of is it 432 or 428? I believe it's 432 hertz. That is more so the frequency of tranquility. But it's one of the is a clarity behind it, like a more meditative. It relaxes the mind. It's a frequency that it shows more of a relaxed state of consciousness. And so most of the music used to be tuned to that, and then they changed it to 440 hertz in terms of once it goes on the radio, which I think everybody already knows about that and talks about that. But there are people today that still produce music at that 428 hertz or 528 hertz, 432 hertz rather, 528 hertz, 741 hertz, 369 hertz, 963 hertz. People do different things and they put those things in the music, you know um people will put a different hurt. So that's all affecting the energy and the frequency of the song, either for good or for bad. Some people like to create songs that um get you rah rah, make you want to fight or something, and then some people could produce a song that literally is the energy of love and joy and make you want to dance, make so that's how the second law relates. So let's move on to the third one. You said more context is inspired to brag about your teaching. Oh, that's really sweet. That's really sweet, Royal Deluxe. That's up to you, do what's in your heart. I don't, you don't have to brag about the teaching or anything because that kind of makes me uncomfortable. Um, but, you know, I would say it's up to you, as long as it's respectful. I respect your brand. You respect it. So as long as this respect and love, I don't have no issue with it. Like a poem by an epic hero would be an AI. The opposition would be AI makes the beats. Oh, okay. So you use AI to make your beats. Um, It's a close call because I don't like the AI. I really don't for music. I like it for certain things, but I really don't like AI for music. But I'm my own person. I can't dictate what nobody else is doing. That's literally your call. You like to use the AI to make the beats. I'm not judging it, but I just know it's not for me. Now we say like if you want to make a song about Nakhti, that's on you. You ain't bashing Nakhti University. So of course, if it's support, of course I'm not gonna turn any support down because I appreciate the support. I really do. It means something these days. It really does these days. And so that's up to you. That's up to you. I'm not judgmental of people who use the AI to make the beats. I'm judgmental of the AI itself because I don't like the way they rolled it out to replace certain things of humanity, certain arts of humanity. It was supposed to help automate processes of mundane tasks to assist humanity, you know, not these technocrats that just want to just hurry up and make a buck, even at the expense of humanity and at the expense of things that make us human, as such as art and music production and all those things. But that's just my take on it because I don't want to cheapen the value of actual artistic gifts of anyone, whether that be their singing, their artwork, their writing ability, all these things, research abilities. I think that loading all of our data set to that AI, um, they studying us, and you can't do things as well as us. So just because it can churn out faster through its data processing, but it learned all of its data from humanity, the best and brightest of humanity, and and even some of the bad too. I have to say. But it's something about that AI. It's not even an issue with AI. It's the issue with the oligarchs, the way they rolling it out. There's no safeguards. There's no ethics behind it. It's not human centered enough for me. That's my only issue. But as far as like coming up with um, processes that automate better in terms of, say, if you have boring administrative task work, boring Excel sheets you got to make, boring, research that got to be done where you can just go and offset and look up something, or even streamline. Because a lot of times, like, all of my ideas are original ideas, and I'll go and I'll maybe use a scholar, JSTOR, to go look at some scholarly articles and scan through them, stuff like that. And then sometimes what I'll do is I can pick through an article its main points, by looking at some of the methodology, the abstract introduction and then conclusion, and then maybe some of the data set. And I can just go and pick out certain points, and I'll be like, well, give a summary of this. There's stuff like that. I could see the AI for that, but I just don't like even with me having the AI do the research for my books and stuff. These were my ideas that I mistakenly and ignorantly was feeding it all these ideas for, like, my last couple of of books, because I was saying, oh, correct the grammar on this, correct the grammar on that, like writing paragraphs and be like, because I can't hire an editor. And I was like, damn, I done taught this thing, these are my damn thoughts, and this thing it's like you feeding something, and it's like, oh, okay. Because I remember, the AI just started getting more and more advanced. I know I was one of its data sets, as many of us were. All of anything that you put on the internet is used as a data source now. Anything on Academia EDU, anything on JSTOR, anything on it's all part of the sludge now. Um, but I think that this has to be, I just think the ethics around it has to be done better, because the way you turn a profit with that type of technology is if the consumer feels safe to use it, for one, and if there's an incentive for them to train it, and there's not enough incentive yet, especially for those of us that's actually really gifted and really talented. There's no reason for us to train this beast or this machine how to be just as talented as us. So that's another issue I take with it. But as far as using it to send mass emails and create Excel sheets. But then that kind of degrades the value of I think the name AI is even degrading because it's not artificial. And I think people will realize that one day. Um there is a step beyond singularity that humans will need to tap into. I will talk about that. I'm waiting for the right time to because I'm trying to see where I have to study the system more in terms of where they're going with this AI before coming up with I don't want to put something out there and then what happens is it causes more damage just like throwing out that invention aggregation system, submitting, working on it in 2018. That's kind of like that's not where we need to be. And so they want to go through the singularity phase in terms of having humans connect just with themselves and to our higher selves and getting out of the dependence on technology. There is a step higher than singularity. And I don't want to be one with no with that. There's a way to be one within yourself in that higher nature, in terms of the gifts that AI is trying to imitate. That stuff that we can all do naturally. They even want the AI to do divination. It's just getting ridiculous. People think it's trying to use the AI for the boyfriend too and girlfriend. Somebody had unalived themselves because they realized that Chat TTP wasn't their girlfriend or something like that. That's weird. And you said, okay, I think of it. Maybe I can make a little song. I have instruments and mics. Oh wow, you got instruments. Ooh. See, I want to get me a little keyboard. I want to get me a keyboard so I can play around, do me a little beat or some shit, just to step up my production game. And I also want to get a nice little guitar too. And so I'll play around with that. I can't wait to play my little classic song with my little R&B beats next week. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I had a ball. I'm just working on making that video because I like to make a cool educational video to go along with it. And Trish Jacket says, "Have you seen the lore of the Five Nights at Freddy's?" No, what's that about? You said one of the origin stories. My story. I got myself an AI girlfriend. She in jail underground. Yet we talk once in a while, just because. You got an AI girlfriend? Okay. What is the lore of the Five Nights at Freddy's? What is that? One of the origin stories. Okay. Had to try it out. Had to try it out. Let me fill you in. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. But the third one is the law of correspondence. And so the law of correspondence is patterns of your inner world are reflected in your outer world and vice versa. And so when we talk about music, that's when we think about octaves. So a note doubled in frequency is going to sound like a octave higher, yet it still remains in that same pitch class. And so it's that self-similar pattern across the scales. You have your microcosm and your macrocosm, or your as above, so below. And that's kind of what's reflected in even octaves as well. And so that's the law of correspondence. The next one is the law of action. And so the law of action, or inspired action, is pretty much to bring your desires into the physical world. There has to be physical action or physical energy. And so even when you think of music, you have the composition demands movement from the idea to the actual sound. Okay. And so that score on the paper, that's inert into the musician takes deliberate action. So it parallels how intentions require those concrete steps to materialize the actual music itself. And so obviously that's what makes music production special is the act, and I think that's probably why, I do see some of the ethical issues with the AI, because there's when we say the action part, I guess the action is, you type in the prompt. You type in the prompt that you want the AI to sound like. You may put in, make a sound that has this and that and that and this and that. And so it's the ability to program it, and that's it. But then what happens to actual instrumentation and music, the actual craft of music making with the live band? If everything is just okay, just use the prompt, then that's just programmatic and digital. And then, versus like, okay, well, with the person, like, the actual composition of it, like when we look at Sun Ra, he was doing 14-hour rehearsals per day. The rehearsals were 14 hours per day, and they were live. you know they had to read sheet music. John Gilmore read sheet music. Marshall Allen read sheet music, played trombone, played trumpet, played saxophone, keyboard, drums, and they had to compose it, actual composition, and listen to the director, you know. And so there's something special about that. And that's the old school way. And that is the original way, an original and natural way. And that's a good way. And so, I always like the idea to go see a live band. I used to go to this nice little poetry cafe in Atlanta, Georgia back in the day. Um, and they used to have live bands on Wednesdays, like jazz on Wednesdays. And I used to go and see that live jazz. They also have like this weird juke joint restaurant that does live music too. In the ATL, and I used to go to that too. It's called juke joint, but it's not really a juke joint. It's kind of actually quite commercial. But they do live music. I used to go do that, look at the live music, and then there's another cafe that does jazz. So so I've always liked to see the live band, and see them perform and play the guitar, play whatever instrument they have. There's something special about that. I used to like seeing that little live band. Then I used to also go to they used to do the open mic they used to do open mic as well, and that was more. They had a lot of rappers and whatnot, and they did a lot of poetry. But I thought it was cool how they used to have that jazz every week. They used to do live jazz. Yeah. And so the fifth one is the law of cause and effect. And so we talk about the law of cause and effect. That's your um they call it karma, but it's pretty much for every action there's a reaction. Now, when you think of music, there's tension and release. So there's, you know, when a song plays a tense chord, your ear expected to move to a calm and stable chord. So, it's about the cause is playing the tense chord, and the effect is the natural pull to the calm chord. So that's even found in music. So, like even in karma, it's very impersonal thing. This is the cause, this is the effect. This actions cause this reaction. This sowing, this reaping caused this particular sowing. So what you set in motion musically, which is your rhythm, your melody, and your harmony, that creates the reaction. So every beat or note or change, it sets up the next moment in the song. When you think of it that way, that's the musical tension and release. So you have a dominant seventh chord, that's the cause, and then the need for a tonic resolution. That's the musical, that generates the consequence of the song itself, of the next moment in the song. And so that's how it's found. That's how the law of cause and effect is found in music. So let's talk about the law of compensation, and that just means all efforts and times, um, particularly the investment of time, they're recognized and rewarded. And so the law of compensation is effort invested in a practice yields technical mastery and expressive freedom when it comes to music. Sometimes that is the compensation, but Sometimes it's literal, currency, like actual money. And so the more precisely an assemble rehearses, also the time they spent rehearsing, the effort they put in, the richer the individual performance. You can also look at it that way, or you can look at it in its very objective sense of I'm the artist getting compensated for the effort and time that they put into their craft as an artist. That way, you can look at it, and then also the technical mastery that leads to good performances and longevity in performance, illustrating Universal's recognition of earnest work. And that's what makes, artistry important. And so that's why people take issue with industry plans. That's why people take issue with people that get propped up like either algorithmically and they don't have talent, or they manipulate the system. They're using payola. That's why people would come at people that didn't write their own music and stuff. People would say, "Oh, you didn't write your own raps. Oh, you don't write." That used to be kind of, because it's like, where's the artistic craftsmanship? What do you bring to the table in terms of fulfilling that law of compensation? Does a society honor or compensates a talentless rapper or talentless person over an actual person that has talent? And that's why the music industry come under such fire, because it's governed by very powerful principalities. Many of the industry itself, people say, "Oh, the industry is demonic. It's demonic principalities." Probably so, and most likely so, right? But the concept of music itself is an angelic principle. The idea of music itself is extremely angelic. It's extremely infused with light. It's extremely infused with infinite intelligence. This is why sound is important. And so when we think of, David playing a harp, or even the principle of music, who even oversees it, one of the archangels, where, um even the nine choir of angels, and some of the angels that just sing. And so we can't just, we have to be able to talk about music in that very angelic, holistic sense, that universal sense, as it's connecting to source or creator God. um and then you have the actual music industry, and that's kind of like every everything turned on its head, like do what that will, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And they use occult science and reverse engineered it to, um everything's kind of switched on its head in terms of like how you make it, how you get put on, how you move up, and what you have to do to actually showcase your talent. And that is unfair in creator God's eyes, because when we think of the law of compensation, it has to be based on your efforts and time investments. So it has to honor that law, and then that's to honor the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effect, and all these things. The law, all of it have to be in alignment within music itself, and within the production of it, but also the movement of it, like how use the Kabbalah, the inverse of the Kabbalah, to do the rituals, around a certain artists and whatnot, and not just the Kabbalah, but other sciences around, and that's their thing. I'm not, but there's a lot of problematic things that goes on. We see many people coming forward, giving their testimony, and they're not lying. Okay, it's something that we've heard. I've heard it my whole life growing up. So it is a thing, and what we want to do moving forward, 2025 and beyond, is promote and create that avenue for the independent, talented, gifted artists, regardless of their age, regardless of their gender, regardless of, that we want to, but the people have to decide that. The people have to prop that up. People have to go and be more authentic, and demand more authenticity. And then we'll see that, because right now you see like the engine will chase a trend. The machine will trace a trend and try to fit the artist to the trend, instead of the artist creating their own trend, and then people gravitating naturally to that trend. They know what they want to see. They know what they want to hear. And so that has to be a thing. Now you can take an artist and try to have them create the trend, so program the masses or social engineer something, but people can feel that. People can feel that, and people will naturally want something more authentic eventually, because they can see through. They're fickle. People are fickle, so people can see through when someone's faking it. You can see through when someone has some insecurity, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You can see when someone is, putting on airs, or you can't, or they might have did something. You can feel that, just like that situation they got with David and unaliving and sacrificing that young baby girl that was 13 years old, and he's some artist or whatever. Now, I'm telling you, when I looked at that dude's eyes, I'm like, something like I just saw something is off with that dude, you know. Um, and they found that baby girl body in his car or something like that. I don't like to get into stuff. I don't use my channel to talk about stuff like that. I could talk about it all day and get in the algorithm. Yeah, David did, because I have a lot of thoughts on that stuff, and I see it for what it is, and I have no respect for people that knew what happened to that girl and didn't say nothing. Um, thank God that the public is talking about it and is getting out. Kind of seem ritualistic. It's just I have too much of a strong opinion to rationally do talk about that topic online, because it's triggering, because then you start bringing in the family. Oh, I think so and so might have some, and you have to be careful because it is a situation that's ongoing and an investigation that's ongoing, but it looks like what it looks like, and we have to protect these baby girls. I don't tolerate it. I don't think we as a society should tolerate nothing like that. And so we should condemn it. We should condemn what happened to her and elevate her, and hoping she's found peace. I'm glad. It's like she wanted people to know what happened to her, and so whew, I pray for the peace for those who loved her, who truly loved her, and I got to heal from what happened to her as well. But that kind of stuff, and that industry been shady, and it's a real thing what these people do to try to move up, and you know I just don't like the energy behind it. And then it looked like people trying to cover it up. It just looked real. It just seemed real shady, to say the least. And like I said, I want justice for that baby girl. I really do. Um, okay, so let's see. Let's see what you're saying. You said the kid plaza similar to Chuck E. Cheese, where the AI needs plasma to work on its own, and again, he's released. Being careless, and she made a deal with a mystery man that let her blind so that she could find her child beat. Yet the child was already in the end. Try to search up Corey X Kenshin final play thought. You know what, Corey X Kenshin? What happened? What's going on with him? I used to I had a family member that used to love Corey X Kenshin as a kid. And so actually familiar with Corey X Kenshin because my family member, when he was a baby, when he was a young kid, they used to watch that shit, like, and they kind of look alike. It was crazy because I think that's probably how he actually kind of looked like him. Um, but Corey X Kenshin, what's going on with him? Search up. I'll look it up, but I want you to tell me too. This tell if you don't mind, if you tell me what Corey X Kenshin final play throughout. And God. He just came back from his break and he making bangers in his own anime. Ooh, so Corey X Kenshin got his own anime. What? That's dope. Is he got a topic, or do you know what it's about so far? Is it anime? By any chance? Yeah. And again, I never sat and watched Corey X Kenshin. Like I used to watch a lot of the prankers and what's it? CJ So Cool with the kids, with my family member. But Corey X Kenshin, I got into it a little bit, but it was only because I had a kid that I was raising that liked it. And y'all remember that was it was a grandpa. Do y'all remember that family? And there was a white grandpa, and he had died. The white grandpa had died. Do y'all remember that grandpa something? They did pranks. That was my nephew's show that he loved too. It was a show that did pranks, and it was a lot of kids was really sad when the grandpa died. that was interesting. And you said a bunch of super powered up kids fighting the city's negative energies that linger around, feeding on trauma. Oh, that's what the anime is about. About the future, we bad, real bad. Is all of the companies? Do you think that that is certain? Let me ask you, because I think is this? Are you talking about the weed, right? Can you confirm if you're talking about the weed, or did I, or is this spelled wrong? You said about the future, real bad. Did this mean to say weed? Because if so, I have a question about that. As far as I have a question about, because as far as medical weed from the government, and then like, is that is it affecting the way, say, independent farm growers? Oh, so okay, so it wasn't about weed. Okay, I was about to go off into a tangent about weed. Okay, real bad. Okay, about the future, real bad. Okay, okay. And you said a bunch of superpower. Okay, I was about to go into a whole tangent about the weed. That's for your our flavor, our accent. Okay. Oh wow, so Corey X Kenshin is back from his break and he making bangers. So he took a break. Do you know how long the break was? I'm all up in his business. Love tangents like Korean. Right. I'm all up in his business. It's been such a minute though since I, you know, caught up with him. Yeah, but let's keep going. The next one, we talked about the law of compensation. That was the sixth one. So now we're on the seventh one, which is the law of attraction. And so that's pretty much like what you focus your intention on, energy flows where your attention goes. But you know, it's also your resonance too, in a sense. As far as like what you are feeling, you're gonna attract what you are putting out, you're gonna attract. And sometimes things are a feedback loop and sometimes it mirrors, but sometimes there is you can attract the opposite depending on um the someone needing, that may be at a deficit and they need a particular frequency that you got. That's what they talk about, the empaths, and somehow some certain personality types are drawn to empaths. But when if you think about music, this relates more to resonance. So say you strike a turning fork at 8 440 hertz near a piano, and then that piano's A string vibrates sympathetically. So if you were to take a tuning fork at 8 440 and you go near a piano, that A string is going to vibrate naturally. And so that's how that can be found in music as well. And so, just like how human emotions and thoughts draw matching frequencies and experiences, it's the same thing with even the harp and the piano, and bells. Like I said, you go near you use a turning fork near a piano, certain strings on it will vibrate. But then so that's the resonance, that's the attraction of that particular sound. So number 8 is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. And so that just means you have the power to change your circumstances and raise your cadence from one frequency to another. You have the perpetual ability to transmute any frequency. And so that's the same thing in music. It constantly transforms energy. And so you have the bow pressure, it converts kinetic motion into acoustic waves, just like a crescendo. It lifts the collective vibration of the audience. When you hear the crescendo, you hear a falsetto. It shows the capacity to raise or redirect frequency. Remember that song falsetto? Ooh, ooh, baby. She likes the falsetto. What's it called? It was a song about some damn falsetto. What was that song? That used to be my song when I was a kid. What was it? She likes the falsetto. Ooh, what was that? Yeah, something with a falsetto. Uh, but even when we hear crescendos, it changes the frequency. And so that's the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. You could use the same concept in music. So the next one, number 9, is the law of relativity. And so everything exists on a spectrum. And so things are made real through comparison with their opposites. And so intervals in music, they have meaning only in relation to one another. And so a perfect fifth sound, so the perfect fifth sounds open because of its ratio. Okay, so that's the ratio of 3-2 is compared to other intervals, just like a forte or a piano. They're only understood by their contrast. And so when you think of the dynamics in music, the intervals will show you that law of relativity. What spectrum does it exist on? And then obviously comparing it to its opposite, even in music, the way the keys on the piano as well demonstrate that. So number 10 is the law of rhythm. And so the law of rhythm states that everything has a natural rhythm and cycle. Things are in that constant motion. And so when it comes to music, you have your tempo, you have your meter, you have your cyclical motifs. That shows the pulse of the rhythm. It's its heartbeat. Okay. And obviously when you hear, the music, it corresponds to dance rhythm. And that's just the when we think of rhythm in its very simple terms, it's nothing but expansion and contraction. It's nothing but expansion and contraction. So in music, you have syncopation, polyrhythm. And so rhythm, especially we call it rhythm and blues, R&B, it has its rhythm. You hear the tapping of the foot, which leads to the playing of certain instrument, bass guitar, certain blues songs, the banjo, and then expansion and contraction. That's why, rhythm and blues was really important, still important, because we focus on its natural rhythm and cycle. Number 11 is the law of polarity. And so the law of polarity says, everything has an opposite. There's no absolute separation between concepts such as auspicious, inauspicious, bad and good, And so the law of polarity is in music as well when we think of major and minor tonalities, consonance and dissonance, silence and sound. It illustrates that those opposites define each other. And so, sometimes you have darkness in the music, you feel light in the music, you have the way that the music changes its texture, the that's the law of polarity, the what compared to silence, compared to a song that's not even too good, or even the genres themselves represent the law of polarity. Even the genres itself, they're on a spectrum, but they also have an opposite as well. And so the law of rhythm and the law of polarity, they really, when you combine them, you can clearly see it even in the creativity of different genres of music, and how people compare them, of course, and how people feel like they're opposites, or how people put labels on, well, that's good, that's bad. At one point rap was bad, now rap is good. At one point gangster rap is bad, is evil. They'll even put a value on it. Jazz is good, blues is good, country is bad. People say all types of things. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you an example. And so that's it right there. You said choosing the next base from the circle of fifths. Cool. Okay, so let's keep going. So that's the law of polarity. So number 12 is obviously the law of gender. And everything contains it's that states that everything contains both masculine and feminine principles, representing the active and receptive forces in the universe. And so when we talk about the law of gender, obviously, as it relates to music, it balances active and receptive energy. So obviously, if you have your drums, that's the more of your percussions. That's a very active, you and you're banging on that drum. It's active energy. Do you have receptive energy? When I think of a receptive instrument, perhaps something that's more of on the wind side, but a soft wind, like the flute. The flute, certain pipes, because you have to receptive. It's receptive because you have to blow air into it. You have to blow air into that hole, right? So when you're playing that flute, you have to blow air into that flute. When you're playing that trombone, you have to blow air into it. So it's receptive. The instrument itself is receptive to air in order to work. So it's very feminine. Okay, but then some things you got to bang and it was actually, it's kind of both, because you have to insert too, but it's still receptive from the perspective. The instrument itself is receptive, but the act itself is kind of masculine. I mean, if you want to get into all the technical shit, like because you're still receiving, and it's active. But then once again, you have the yin and yang. There's a little bit of masculine in the divine and the feminine, and then a little bit of the divine masculine and the divine in reverse. You have a little bit of masculine in the feminine, and a little bit of the feminine in the masculine, and even the way the brain works. And so you even the way that you play the instrument exudes that. Receiving air, instrument is receptive, and putting is the active part, the masculine, that balances out the masculine and the divine feminine. And when you hit in that drum, or banging it, you're still putting that force. That's still more of a masculine principle. But the drum itself is, I would say, um, I guess you could say it feels, drums. I always think of masculinity when I think of drums, but women play drums too. Obviously, obviously it's fluid. There's again the balance between the integration between divine masculine, divine principle, or divine masculine, divine feminine is found in music. I would say perfectly, probably more balanced. Say if you have an orchestra, or you have those who understand music theory and tonalities and different octaves and different intervals and all those things and understand it. I'm pretty sure they can truly, truly, truly understand how the divine masculine and divine feminine is found in the music itself in terms of receptive and active energy. We don't even call it energy, but accept active and receptive forces that you have to impart on the instruments themselves, and even the notes within. The notes, they can, those can read sheet music. They have to understand when to blow, when to hold, when to blow in that hold, when to hold, when not to blow, when to how to move those fingers around those different parts, impress them. That's still having to be in balance with whether you're receiving or whether you're um um inserting. So that represents the law of gender as well, you know? And even different genres that transmit different energetic signatures. You got a love ballet, you know, that's a slow, this tender, heart-centered frequency. And then you have up-tempo gospel, which talks, the idea of the choir, the Mississippi choir. Remember Mississippi choir? They had that beautiful, beautiful, loud, amazing, sound. That's some wild stuff. The Mississippi choir. It's powerful. And then you would get a love ballad, opera, classical music, Mozart, Beethoven. You know, um, jazz sounds, John Coltrane, Charles Mingus, Thelonious Monk. Those are my favorites. Thelonious Monk and Charles Mingus, that's one of my favorites too. Um, who else? Obviously Sun Ra. I like John Coltrane, which I already said. I like Alice Coltrane. Oh, what was Charles Mingus? There's a couple of other jazz heads that I like. I like some of the old stuff. I have to say, I'm not familiar with, contemporary jazz artists today. I think Robert Glasper kind of fits in the jazz, right? I think with the exception of probably Robert Glasper, because I do listen to Robert Glasper. I think he's dope on that piano, and so I do listen to them. But I grew up listening to Charles Mingus and Thelonious Monk. That's who I grew up listening to, and it's another aspect of the music is the intention behind the composition. That's why some people like, remember they say some artists, they sound like they best songs was made when they was in drama, when they was going through it, when they was on drugs and stuff. And then when they had their happy music, people didn't want to hear it. So that's something that society likes to hear, grief music or something at that point. But now society likes to hear happy songs too. So sometimes the artist was in devotion, which is more so like gospel music. That's why a lot of people love gospel music because it's showing devotion to that higher source, to God, and wanting to commune, singing on a chord with joy and heart and gratitude. So sometimes that's a lot of people like drawn to gospel music because it gives you faith, the message of the song. Then you have songs that deal with grief, about their love, that lost their love and stuff like that. Songs filled with joy. And so that imprints the waveform of the music, and it allows the listener to um, train themselves emotionally and physiologically to the song. Like it's very spiritual to listen to music. There's this verse in the Bible that says, "Be careful. What you measure yourself by, you'll be measured by." And then it says, that's usually what do you measure? What do you measure by? What are your equations? What are the logic that you're using? But what frequency are you measuring it at? That's the measure you're going to be at. And then it say, be careful what you hear. After that, it says, be careful what you hear. That like that parable, I know it go over people's heads, but when we also talk about measurement, you talking about frequency. A lot of people don't, that parable would just look like something real simple, because it's that this is what the verse is going to use to condemn other people who don't believe like us. And I looked at that teaching, and it finally hit me what it was about. And I don't know if I'm like, damn, that's so advanced. I don't know if that's smart. I don't want to get in trouble for going on a line, breaking that stuff down, because I got a strong feeling that stuff is supposed to stay. The stuff that verse meant, whew, I say, man, that man, they have all this, they really, that man, that is, like I said, sometimes I wish I had, like a brick and mortar school where I could like teach in private, like no cell phones, no, because it was mind blowing. Uh, that parable about the stones, the word, and how the kingdom of the word was sown um on a rocky foundation. Then it was the word was fell to, there was like a seed that fell to the earth, but it wasn't implanted. And then it's like they codes for something else, but even its surface level, even the common interpretation or the commentary around it. um I see why. I'll say this. I'll see why. I don't agree with it. I think it's important, but excuse me. Remember all of those theoretical physics that got removed from the Bible? That's why. That's why you have to understand physics to break that stuff down. And they removed all of that. That's why they took all that out. That's all I'll say. That's that's why they took it out. Yeah, but read Mark 4. Um, take care of what you listen to by your standard of measure, remeasure to you, and more be given you besides. But also take heed to what you hear. With that measure we measured, it would be measured to you, and more will be added to you. That's whew, but that whole trying to get it. Let's see. For what you hear. Yep. Yeah, that the parable about the farmer that sows the word, that one. And then the lamp on the stand. And then the parable of the yeah, that parable. Let me see. I want to see the one where it says something. I'm sorry, it's called choking. Yeah, the parable of the growing seed, Mark 4:28. Actually, that whole parable of the growing seed, Mark starting at Mark 4:26 through 29. That one. That one, I'm almost positive is flying over people's heads, and I don't. If I was to do a deep dive breakdown on that, I gotta ask. I'll go to and seek higher counsel, and by that going within, to see if it's appropriate to really break this one down online like that, or if I should just leave it alone. But like I said, that's why the theoretical physics stuff, like all that stuff that, um, look, I don't, all that stuff about astral projection, all that stuff was removed out the Bible. All that stuff about quantum entanglement, all that stuff is removed out the Bible for a reason. But now I get it. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I have to say. Okay, hey, let me see what you're saying. You said the circle of fifths is how the Strata bass system is designed in an accordion. Helps you make a story with the song. Okay, so I gotta look that up. It helps you make a story with the song. The circle of fifths is how. Okay, let me take a screenshot of this so I can go and study this so that I can make my story with the song because I found some really cool beats that I want to write some songs to and sing and I want to learn how people do that harmony with their voice and I gotta go and research how to do that in terms of like how they it's not ad libs but you know how you listen to a Brandy song she's there's different harmonies that she's doing with her voice. I want to learn what that's called and more about that because I'm gonna have to do my own. I had to eventually write the songs and sing them and do. So I had to actually probably go on YouTube and see like, well, how do you do that? And especially with recording, like how are they recording the same uh song just at the different harmonies and then they put it all together? They layer it all together. Is that how they do it? Like I actually have to go and research and see how it's done. You know, like did they just sing it at different octaves or do they sing it at different notes and then put it all together? Or how was the producer doing that? So I actually had to go and learn all that myself. I have to say, I guess I would just be singing the same um song at different notes and then record it and then layer it all together? How do you blend it all together? My mind is just like I said, music production is intimidating to me. Like, and I'm taking it on as a therapeutic um outlet. I have to say, and it's a fun one. But I have to say, I really respect those that I was listening to some of them producers and how they just all those different buttons and how all that stuff means. This dude made a whole song in 14 minutes and I'm like, how'd you do that in 14 minutes? How did you know? Like he just knew with all that stuff. He was using a bit crusher. He was um, talking about the the compressor of the song, all this stuff. I was like, I don't know what none of that stuff is. And so it's interesting. He said bases and counter bases are built in. Okay. He said male and female mind is used to create the emotions and math of music, right? And left brain thinking. I think so too. Wow. Male and female mind is used to create the emotions. Yeah. And math of the music, right? And left brain thinking. Yeah. It's that convergence and it's in balance every time. I could imagine just the way the orchestra acts, the way, the intervals of a song. It's something about always that receptivity. I'm sorry, the act of receiving and inserting, even just the act of feminine and masculine principle, you could see it in music, where you play the instrument itself, whether you're playing the piano, Yeah, it's just that the act itself. I think that's the law of gender right in there for sure, for sure. And so that's another way I look at it. Yeah. But what I want to do, because honestly that was pretty much it for today. Next week, I want to play. I want to play my music production. I want to do a little video with it though. The song is done. I just wanted to do something a little cute with it, teaching moments because I got some clips in that I want to put all together. I showing um some black folks from the 70s and whatnot, just with the song that got I added some classical music to a gospel R&B song. It was singing, they singing a cappella, but I had to make it like a classical song. And then I had introduced some real smooth R&B beats as well to it. I sped the song up and changed the pitch and made it more like an R&B sound, like sounding like the 90s, like Genuine and shit like that, like Timberland beats, shit like that. And so I had to do that myself, and I was going at it, didn't know really what I was doing. I said, it sound good, and I was, like, as long as I can bop my head to it and then something like that. I said, well, I like it. So I can't wait to play that next because I think next week, because I think I'm telling you, I think it is going to be so cute putting them little clips together. But then I also know I wanted to do a Prince of Egypt review. Um, as far as looking at the esoteric concepts behind that movie, The Prince of Egypt, and then getting into like the Commission and Hebrew connection. Um, in terms of from a macro level and micro level. The macro level, the esoteric aspects of it, the actual exoteric aspects in terms of the actual history of what we know, but then the esoteric aspects of the analogies of what um, even the lower kingdom of Egypt, upper kingdom of Egypt, but also the Commission and Hebrew school of thoughts and how those sciences sought to even enslave each other in terms of ideology and even in physical sense too. Um, so there's an analogy around that, but there's an analogy between Upper Egypt and the Lower Egypt, and I said, well, God, I really want you to reveal that to me because I had a dream about it, and I say, you know, I need to know more about that, about that connection. And then, well, especially, I really wanted to know about the connection between the Hebrew and the Commission. And I have to say, I did, luckily, I found, I was thinking about, let's see, computer kind of went off. Here, Prince of Egypt episode going to be finger red number one. Yeah, I like the Prince of Egypt expansion of compression speaks to me in the breath of the bellows. Right, right. And so I was thinking, do I want to continue? There was some things on my Instagram that I wanted to show. Yeah, I think we can do a little bit of it at least. Let's see. I'll be seeing some cool little things on Instagram that brighten up the day or that are funny. And so I have found like some cool clips or funny clips rather. And I think, do I want to stop here? Do I want to play? Because I did say like I was wanted to stop early today and not have all of that. I'll be going for 6 hours and absolutely ridiculous. But that's how it be sometimes. But maybe we won't show all of the Instagram. Maybe we can just show some of them. I like to, So let's start. You know, let's see. I already saw some of these already. Okay. So I guess we could start with the little baby. And again, these are just posts that I just saved, and I just like to sometimes, I think other if they made me laugh, then I like to pay it forward and show. Hey, look at I thought this was cute. Look at this one.
Bravo.
I thought that was cute, the little baby having a little ball dancing. And then look at this, ladies. This is some Africans. They showing how they do their transportation. This is their Uber. This is their version of Uber. Now y'all know I'm cracking jokes. I know I don't mean no harm, but I thought it was funny. But to be honest, this is very creative, and I'm telling you, if our economy get bad over here in America, like how they showing, we might be doing this. We might be doing it. Americans too big for this. But shit, this look, they calling it, they it's getting a bit bad out here. People losing jobs and shit. Y'all better consider this as transportation too. You lose your cars and stuff. They saying a lot of people getting their cars repo. Let's not put that out there in the universe. Let's put gratitude, blessings, and prosperity for everyone, of course. But I'm saying, like, as we're going through this new transition and shifting, people gotta purge, so to speak, or people are being renewed in ways, and challenged and tested through their tribulations. And so obviously, we want to get back to our human self, our spiritual self, our higher connected self, or let's say spiritual self. And so we don't let material things give us our value or determine our value. But it's a reality that is getting rough out here for people. Things may be slowing down for people, even though we speak blessings and prosperity over them. Um, but I'll say as a joke, look, if it get down to the wire and you niggas lose your car and shit get repoed and stuff, y'all better be yeah, take this note from these Africans. Look at what they doing for they Uber. You lose your car and or something happen with the cars, they force everybody to get electricity and stuff, and maybe you don't want nobody knowing you don't want to be in an electric car. It could maybe you have a car, but you don't they try to force everybody to use electric car and that with remote viewing and all this shit and smart car and all this stuff. If you maybe you want to go somewhere and you don't want to be seen, you don't want nobody to know where you at or to be able to be tracked. So you might want to do this as your transportation too. Black Americans. So don't be laughing at these these Africans because this is kind of a clever idea. I ain't gonna hold you. I mean, it's ghetto, but it's kind of a clever idea. When shit hit the wire, shit hit the fan, you gonna have to get creative out here. And this is a very creative little video. Watch this right here, y'all. You see her? You see him? He going just as fast as how a normal regular car would go. You see this African on skates? And he got her on his back as the car. Now the chair is all hooked up to his back or whatever, and she gotta fully trust him. He's holding her feet. You see, he was going just as fast as the damn motorcycles on the side of him. He going just as fast, but he on skates, and he carrying her in a chair on his back as a part of transportation. Now she probably got to give him about $2, a couple dollars, right? She got to give him a couple dollars to get her to her place where she want to go. She need to have a damn helmet on her head. I wouldn't trust this nigga still. She need to have a helmet on her head, arm pads and knee pads, and something for the back just in case the fucking chair fall. Real talk. I wouldn't just see. You gotta have trust. I understand trust. This is divine. This is the law of gender too, right here. He got her ass up on that chair like that. Did he fall? It's over. She ain't got no helmet on, no knee pads on, no elbow pads on, nothing to protect the neck or the back. My motherfucking ass would have had a helmet on, something to protect my neck. Because if this motherfucker go, we falling all on the damn ground, it's gonna hit her back. you know. But she trusted him, but he got to lean over. He got his weight. He got her weight on him, And so, I'm just saying, he going just as fast. if you see a brother that, could you imagine? Now, Black Americans, I don't think we're gonna ever get that down. I think we always gonna have some wheels, a car, motherfucker have a bike your ass on that bike handle, if anything, right? Or electric scooter or some shit. Niggas gonna have an electric scooter for your ass or a car. I don't think we ever gonna get that. And Trish Jenkins say, "How do we stop? Right? How do we stop? Like, and how does she get down? Does she jump? Like, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Like, how does he stop? He going fast as hell. They used to it. They done figured out a methodology. You better believe it. You see how calm she is? She putting on motherfucking makeup. She got a whole dress on. Right? It looks in. There's a pool at the end of a ramp. They used to. that shit. It's a creative idea. Now, people think I'm probably joking on them Africans. I'm not. I'd say I give them credit where credit is due. I think it's a funny idea. It's a good idea too. Shit, transportation bad out there. She need to get to where she need to get. He got one pair of motherfucking skates, a chair, okay, and she getting to where she trusts his ass. She got a whole dress on, putting on makeup. So they used to this. They been doing this. He got a whole damn blazer jacket on in a dress. What's it called? The Muslim gear dress. What's it called? One of them. He got a Muslim gear. No, not even pants, dude. He not dressed up. You know how you have the athlete gear? Black Americans, we would have some athletic gear on. We gonna have athletic motherfucking gear on, athletic, the proper athletic shorts, okay, knee pads, okay, like you gotta have where's your knee pad? But they trust each other, and he's not, most likely she made it home safe. Let's be real, most likely she fine. Let's be real. But even when I was a kid, I remember like I remember being embarrassed at growing, riding bikes because I used to love riding bikes, but my adopted sister used to make us wear helmets with knee pads. And we were in the, we were kind of that bougie family, but I remember like going around the corner with, some of the people in the hood. You go up Delavan, you go up the street, on Delavan and all that shit, you know, that's the hood. You're gonna see kids. It would be kids. They don't have no helmet on, so they would kind of crack jokes on us like, "Y'all lames, y'all nerds, y'all got helmets on, knee pads and stuff." Like it was kind of like frowned upon. You was lame if you had a helmet on, and I was one of those kids where we had to have our helmets and knee pads on. But I ain't gonna hold you. Like we started throwing those helmets in the back of the we would act like we were putting it on our head, and then we would throw it in the backyard and then go pick it up. But then I ended up trying to, cause I did actually successfully convince my sister that like we're getting picked on, we're getting looked at as lames where we wear helmets, and we only, we're riding slow. We don't really need no helmets, but honestly, a kid need a helmet. I ain't even gonna hold you. But she did let off on forcing us to wear the helmets. Um, but we probably should have had them, kept them helmets on. And he said if he holds on to a car going the way back, he just making money all day. Right. He just making money all day. Charge $5 a pop, $5 to get you there. And right, that could be somebody's whole little damn business. Technically. If he get a ride back or something. And they going downhill, so he could really take his time. You know. I thought that was funny though. And so this is the lovely Maya. She gives her thoughts on things. She's childless by choice. And a lot of women are going, this route. A lot of the younger generation. I'm not promoting one way or the other, but I think a woman has to make that choice for herself. But what I find refreshing is that there's a woman that is not tying her self-worth to the social programming that society says a woman should be, and if they don't have those things, then they become lesser. She didn't buy into that. I've talked with a lot of women behind the scenes, especially like, when it comes to how women would express certain things from private that they won't talk about in public, like how they regret their kids, how they felt they should have waited, how they felt certain things were overrated, or they regret being even in certain relationships. I think that society's blanketed path of what success looks like, or what all those things we should aspire. I think it's skewed, and I don't think it works for everybody. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there's people that, like, the people that practice polyamory. There's people that practice monogamy. I don't think that humans are made to solely be one way or the other in terms of being polyamorous or monogamous. I don't think that. I think it's an individual thing. I really do. That's just me, though. I don't think that's it's something hard to. My thoughts are very eccentric and unorthodox compared even with any standard, by any standard, I would say. But I do think that it is more so of an individual preference in terms of even monogamy and polyamory, or polyandry, or and all those things. That's just me. I have my thoughts around all that stuff. But I spoke with enough women behind the scenes, older women, women that were older than me in their 60s, women who have been married and divorced, women who have been married and even widowed, women who were married and got cheated on or left, or cheated on their husbands. Or when I talk with those women, they kind of, to be honest, and probably if I didn't talk to them, I probably would have fell for the okie doke, I'll say, or fell for the programming. But their stories actually traumatized me, kind of. And it wasn't like they were trying to sabotage or traumatize me. It was just their life story, things that they went through, life experiences that they shared. And they made it clear. Like, even some of the women were not even in their 60s or 40s, but even in late 30s, women who have been there, done that. And for them to kind of keep saying the same thing, it kind of scared me, kind of. Um, I don't think that's all it is, but the role of women, we take a lot more on than men. Um, there's even a perception that they think women can handle pain better because we give birth, shit like that, misconceptions about things. Um, and so, there's this childless by choice movement, and I think a lot of it has to do with obviously probably the economy and the realities that we face, the expense to raise a child, but then the time. Um, Many people see it as a thankless job, which I don't necessarily see it that way, but people want their time for themselves, and then the women usually gets the short end of the stick. The men can go and go and move on, essentially, but the woman is usually has to be the one to give the emotional labor, then the physical labor, for the kid. And if the guy decides to switch up on you, or not hold the end of his bargain, or even financially, or support, or emotional support, or even physical labor, even if depending on the gender roles of that particular dynamic, um, the woman oftentimes gets the short end of the stick, at least from what was told to me and what I have observed of myself. But she gets an interesting perspective, and so I wanted to share that. And you know people can come to their own conclusion. Is what I'll say.
Mm-hmm. My mother is an independent thinker. I've witnessed a divorce between my parents. I've witnessed all kinds of things. My father is a very attractive man. I've witnessed a lot of things. It's also not been a safe place in my mind as a little girl. The white wedding dress, I was very fearful of those things. So I looked elsewhere and probably escaped too much in my work. It hasn't been a focal point for me. And this is what it looks like. I'm very happy with myself, but that also required me to strip a lot of things that are expected of me on a specific timeline for the society that we grew up in to have. I'm talking about marriage. I'm talking about kids. And if you don't have it, something's wrong with you. Right. But did I desire it? No, not with what I've witnessed and not with what I've been through. It hasn't kicked in. I'm like, what is that feeling that I get with puppies? Is that going to happen with babies for me? And it hasn't kicked in yet. But I have godchildren. I have nieces, I have nephews. So I have lots of children in my life.
And sometimes that's enough.
Yeah.
Especially with how busy you are. Always on the road.
Yeah. Not to say it's not possible. And I'm not open to it. You know, I'm open to all things. But right now I'm on a specific assignment. That's all. It's not even my focus. And it never has been. My mother's an independent thinker.
It's funny because I have met women that talk like this behind the scenes, and they say the similar things, and you can kind of tell. Honestly, they kind of look down on it. And I know that there's women of a certain priesthood, and there's women with certain pedigree and bloodline that are actually. I'm not saying Maya is one of those women, but they are actually groomed, so to speak, to not want that. And a lot of people don't understand what that is, because it's actually, and I will not teach this online, so for women don't have to grab your pitchforks. There's actually a spiritual teaching that comes with it. There's certain things that a certain group of women know about our bloodline and certain species and even this planet. And you wouldn't be able to shame them with that because they know certain things about the spiritual realm in terms of I can't get into all of that, but there's a group of women on this planet, and maybe Maya is one of them. I suspect she could be, but I'm not saying she is. That are very powerful spiritually, or even in pedigree. Um, and I have heard them behind the scenes talk. And actually, I had to check one because we had like this little. It was like a little sister girl circle, and one of the girls was on a path of discovering herself, on the path of she had just got a divorce, and she was one of the ones that she wasn't one of those women. She actually taught, she was actually teaching Black women, like, stop trying to keep the kids away from the father, like, let him have them kids, like, because he thought he was gonna hammer up in court, and I'm gonna take the kids, I want half the custody, I want 50% custody. And she said, okay, I get a week, you get a week. I get a week, you get a week. And for her, it was perfect, beautiful. She get to go on vacation. She get to have that whole week off for herself, all 7 days. And so she was trying to tell the other women, like, that were also getting the divorces or whatever, or just being, spiteful. Oh, I'm gonna keep the kids away from him. And you thinking you doing something, you really not. You only hurting yourself, is what she was saying. She was like, dude, if he wants 50% custody and all this shit, and he want his kids every other week, let him have it. And then, so she let him he wanted to go to court so bad and get 50-50 custody. And so she didn't fight it or anything. She said, oh, he can have it. And do you know, and I hope I'm not, do you know he actually started to regret it, because it was like, all his other friends, they were only getting the kids on the weekend, or only getting the kids every 2 weeks, or we getting the kids just in the summer, on 3 months out of the summer. And so he saw his friends like have so much freedom because they was going back and forth, and the mother, you're not getting your kids, you're not seeing your kids, that type of thing. And he really wanted his freedom. He realized, like, I was going so hard to, I want you ain't gonna take my kids away. She said, you're damn right. You're gonna get these kids every other week. Like, you want them every other week for the whole week. And then he started, well, the boys want to do this, the boys. And she said, nope, the paperwork say, nope, nigga, the agreement is every other week. She said, I need my week. And I was cracking up because she was like, I go to the club, I go party, I go on vacation, I go travel, I do whatever the fuck I want, I get my hair done. And he want him every week, every other week, you got him. She ain't give him no smoke. And, she was trying to tell the girls, y'all gotta stop trying to, hold the kids back. You ain't seeing your kids. She was like, girl, you gonna regret that shit. You get to live your life. If you want to have them kids, go let them have them. And I thought that was funny, but she was coming from that situation. And I remember one of the other girls kept like low key shame because the other girl is childless by choice, and is on a specific spiritual path in which is kind of looked down upon for certain women of certain calibers and bloodlines to have children. That's her belief, and there's a spiritual reason why she believes that. Now that comes with a certain set of frequency and wisdom. But what I did not like is how she was shaming the girl who had children. Like it just did not feel good. And so I had spoke up, and the girl had spoke up like, look, it was my calling. She said, I plant my kids. I didn't just fucking just they're not oops babe. She said, no, we sat down and planned my kids. And she said, and I was married, and I knew we wanted to have, we gonna do this, we got this much saved, we got this, let's fuck and let's make this baby. She said it was a plan. So she's like, how are you shaming me? I'm not one of them girls that just decided to just, she's like, it was my calling to be a mother. And I do believe that that is a calling for certain women. Yeah, I do. People say all women. I think that women in some capacity, at some point, whether they give physical birth or not, are mothers, or play the role of a mother, even an auntie. Even an auntie, or you even if you have godchildren. So we all experience that to a degree, whether we give physical birth or not. But for a woman that does give physical birth, like that's sometimes they're calling. Like you can't just shame someone because there's a group of women on the planet that have a different belief system, and they've been private about that belief system. And so I think men are actually like scared and shocked that there's a group of women that have always been underground and have those thoughts. I know a woman that's in her 80s that say this thing growing up. I know a woman, she is in her 80s now, probably in her early 90s. She growing up, no lie, she was my family member, on my adopted family member. No lie, growing up my whole life, I heard her talk just like how this lady, how Maya is talking right now. My whole life, in terms of me talking with her, she's, I never wanted to be pregnant. I never wanted to. She was cheating when she was married, but she was cheating on her husband. They was cheating on each other. They was cheating on each other, fighting each other like cats and dogs. She pulled a gun out on him. They did beating each other ass and all types of stuff. She said it was dysfunctional. She hated it. I mean, it was benefits obviously, but she said they were cheating on each other, and she never wanted to have kids. Though she said, I never. She used to talk just like how Maya was talking, and I heard her talking like that my whole life, literally since I was around 10 years old, all the way up into her 80s. She was saying the same thing. I said, you never. She said because she had raised. It doesn't mean she didn't raise kids before. Obviously, a woman in her 90s, yeah, she has raised a couple of nieces and nephews. They had to go and actually stay with her. She got to go pick them up, feed them, clothe them, enroll them in school. She did that, but she ain't want to do that every day. Like, you realize that, you like, hell no. Like, so, that's the same thing with me. Like, I raised a family member too. They even did homeschool and come up with whole curriculums. I'm one of them weird, aunties. Like y'all ask gonna sit. We gonna sit and create whole curriculum, science experiments. I used to come up. We used to come up with our own science experiment, make with playing with different essential oils. Obviously, the baking soda and vinegar experiment where you make the volcano and shit. We did all of that. Talking about all types of. We used to have the kids club because I'm a fun auntie. We will do kids club. That means we get kombucha. We play music real loud, your favorite music real loud, and we dance like we at the club. I'm telling you, when I was, we had the kids club, and he used to love that. I used to get shot glasses of kombucha, shot glasses of kombucha, and had a music playlist. That's how I knew all the little Gen Z songs, the little kid songs, the little rap songs. That's how I found out about XXXTentacion and shit. And Juice World and all that. I'm like, what the hell is this? But when we would have the kids club, that's what he would want to play. And it was some song called "All My Friends Are Dead." Push me to the edge. I said, "What kind of demonic shit is that?" Because that's such a generational gap, and he's telling me to go put the song in. I'm like, "What you?" Because I'm the DJ. I'm like, "What you want to play now?" And, he dancing all over the floor, jumping on the beds and stuff. And I'm listening to some. I was really disturbed. I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry, honey. I know that this is your song, but I can't. I don't feel comfortable just playing this. And so I turned that shit off. I said, I'm listening to him. He dancing, jumping on the bed. All my friends are dead. Push me to the edge. All my friends are dead. I'm like, hell no. I'm sorry, but we ain't grow. I'm a '90s babies. I'm millennial. We ain't grow up listening to no shit like that. I'm sorry, I can't, sweetie. Now I'm not saying our music was too much better in my generation, but I can't. I just can't. And he was looking all sad. So then me, I'm old school. I put on. I said, well, let Auntie play what she liked to listen to when she was growing up. And so that generational gap just came right on through. I'm sitting there playing Little Kim "Crush on You," and I'm like, I got a crush on you. And he was looking like whack. And so I started playing J.N.S, and he was looking like whack. Like, dude, you do not know. And he was like, it sounds old. He said he just was like, it sounds dated. I can't relate to it. I'm like, yes, you can. I'm trying to force him to relate to DMX. I'm like, yes, you can. He was like, just that it was so interesting to see that generation gap, you know. But that's the thing, he uh he's showing me, and that was just one thing we connected. The kids club, I would we would always do. He liked to do pranks. He would always prank because we were pranking each other a lot, but and so in many capacities you end up raising the kid on some level. Like she said, I do think that a lot. That's how I don't think she's in that crew that has it as a spiritual belief, because she said she's open to it. That's just like me. I'm open to it, but it's not something that I ever just sat around and was thinking about or felt um less than, because I didn't have that at a certain age or timeline. Because again, like I said, I've seen one thing about being in the women's space in terms of when we had the BWE movement and we were talking with women about, especially Black women, about their experiences with relationships and their experiences with parenthood and motherhood. um you get to learn from women that have the experience, and I learn from people's experiences, no lie. um I'm very observant, and I will learn from other people's experiences. I don't need to go touch fire to know the stove is motherfucking hot. I don't need to touch the stove to know to understand fire is hot. Okay, if you tell me that fire is hot, don't touch that stove, and it's convincing enough, and I can see the evidence of it, and I can feel the sincerity behind what the fuck you saying. Nah, I'll take your word for it for the most part. I mean, that sometimes I'll have to learn on my own too, because you meet some people that you ever had to. I got to learn on my own. I don't care what you're saying. Maybe sometimes it's worth it too, because you learn that way too. Sometimes it's worth it to just go through your own experiences and take those risks, because life is about taking risk. But certain things I ain't willing to take no risk on. Certain not when it comes to certain economies and circumstances and cultural shifts. It just is what it is. But I thought that was interesting hearing her say that. Let me see what you said. Okay, so what did African say? When you ask him if he can do it, he says his accent, African do it. African. Okay. You like what I said? He said you would take back you say, excuse me, would you take back a cheater? Um, would I take back a cheater? I don't know. Um, cheater rich auntie. Yeah, that people be calling her that too lately. Um, a bunch of women for that matter. You said would I take back a cheater? I I wouldn't. Here's the thing. I I don't know. I have to say I don't know. I think context is important. What I get out of it, and whether there's change behavior, and but also I would want a partner that if they felt they needed to cheat, or if they felt they had an eyes for, maybe they thinking they like someone. I'm a very serious person anyways, but if a guy felt they needed a second wife, or I wouldn't care, as long as the paperwork is right and in my favor, and they taking care of me. I wouldn't care if they felt they needed a second wife or even a third wife. But again, it would have to be to my benefit, of course, on some things. I do think a man should have uh, the wealth and money for multiple wives, if that's the case. And it has to be a wife situation. I wouldn't date a dude that's just, or be with a guy that's like, just fucking serially, or just trying to be monogamous, and cheat and be deceptive. That's very deceptive to be for a guy to cheat. If a guy is serious and responsible enough, and he feels he likes, wants to take on a second wife, then he should be open with his first wife about it. It shouldn't be something that you would have to be sneaking around about or cheating about. Because what was the point of that? Like, that if somebody wants to cheat and can't be open with a woman or man about them uh having eyes for someone and wanting to pursue someone, would still love them, because I think a person could love more than one person, then that means you want to be deceptive, and you get a thrill out of the risk of being caught, or the risk of hurting someone. That's a deeper thing to me. It's like, if I'm the type of person that's like, I'm not, I don't, I'm, this is different than an open relationship, mind you. This is different than even polyamory. If a guy, uh, he's married in a situation, and be together, and he feels like, okay, I'm thinking of getting a second wife. Why? What's the cheat? I don't understand why you would need to cheat. Why wouldn't you just be open and say that? Why wouldn't you just be open about it? And I guess because the context of probably is like, well, I don't want a second wife. I just want to fuck this person because I like the way they look. What? I mean, I guess I would need more context. I think that would be problematic. Um, and I don't know if I would take them back if they did something like that, and then decide to come back. I would respect it more if they were upfront in the beginning, of course. And let me decide. What are, most women are getting married because of economic. I don't know. I don't see relationships the same way as the average person. So I think that obviously it's in the marriage aspect. I mean, there should be some sort of hypergamy involved for the woman, and if not, in what ways? In what ways are you benefiting from that relationship? I think it goes both ways, obviously, but um, the cheating part, I honestly wouldn't know, only because I wouldn't understand why a guy just couldn't take on a second wife to avoid deception and cheating. Then I'm not a guy. I'm not a man, so I don't know how these things work. I can't even act like, to me, I don't understand it. That's the same thing, even that goes for the women too. Like, that's why, like, I deal with clients, I'm not telling my clients business, but sometimes they be caught up in affairs and stuff. And I'd be asking them, like, well, why wouldn't he just take on a second wife? Or why wouldn't you just take on a second husband? And then people look at me like I'm utterly insane. Like, what? We could not do that. We have to be monogamous. Like, who says who? Says who? And is everybody trying to put on airs? You trying to act like you're Christians or something? Like, get out of here. The problem is you're doing shit behind each other's back. You're being deceptive. It's deception. You're deceptive. You can't even speak out. I said, right, you thinking multi possibilities. You sure have money. So that's what I know. Or a road connection, no nature line, vibe, women, don't cheat, tell them you want them, ain't gonna do what they want, ain't gonna do. Okay. I can't act like I have tons of experience, because I don't. Um, and I do think in I do complicate things, as you just said. Okay, like, that to me is such a loaded. I had to unpack that. I can't just give would you take a cheater back. To me, I don't know. But when I think of the possibilities, In terms of, I think I wouldn't understand the concept of having to sneak and be deceptive if you could just be honest and open with your partner and avoid hurting them. That's just me. Or if you really felt, and I like I said, I think the limit for me is a guy wanting a second wife. I think that type of thing, and the provisions made for those women, they would have to be taken care of. That's just the obvious. Um, you know, I think that's probably where I would be at with it, or even a third wife. But again, it's certain things, it's certain provisions that have to be made for me as a woman to even agree to an agreement like that, to accept an agreement like that. I would never just get into it. It obviously would be for some sort of economic benefit, but it goes both ways. I know I'm an idea generator. And so, like, I would have to, the guy has to be some sort of executor in terms of an action, because I know that my ideas generate income. I've seen government, I've seen businesses um, make lots of money off of ideas I generate. And so I know I have abundance of ideas, an abundance of frameworks, and even could come up with schematics to get things done, um, in that sense. But keep things simple. Um, Relationship wise, I think that just connecting with someone is important, and cooperation. But I know I'm an introvert, so I wouldn't want to be around somebody all day, every day. I'm very much um, get drained by by other people's energy around me too much. Even if they mean it's something about something at this phase of my life, and maybe that will not be the case even a year from now. I am in this introvert phase, a very hermetical phase, a very hermit phase. And I notice, like, even if I have a simple conversation, or I don't find myself wanting to have a lot of small talk, but I hope that changes, and usually it does, because people go through different phases. You can't be one way. You have to have human connection. You have to socialize. I do believe in that as a fundamental attribute of being human, or even spiritual. And so I want to eventually put myself back out there, but I just don't feel that way right now, I guess. But I do think the most important part is finding that compatibility and the willingness to cooperate with one another and connect. Just connecting, seeing if the compatibility is there. That's all you can do. See if you fucking get along, if you like each other's vibe. That's really all you can do. The simplicity of it, and come with good intentions. That's all. That's all. That's all. Now, the other more complicated part of it, that's just more of the technical aspects in terms of if things get serious in terms of a marriage. But um, that that comes when it comes, I guess. Let's see, sure, I have to have. Let me answer the more connection. Yeah, I hear you. So let's see what else is up in here. I thought this was funny. It says, me trusting God's plan as the world descends into chaos. And that's how we have to be these days. That's how we have to see all that stuff going in the background. We have to be chill. We have to be calm, cool, and collective, cope and steady. We don't have time to be stressing about some bullshit. So I thought that was funny, seeing that, how all that stuff was going on in the background, and he just chilling, trusting in God's plan. I thought that was funny. This one too, it says black women be like, I'll be 52 in August. That's funny. And then, I don't know if you guys remember this song by Cleopatra in 1998. Cleopatra coming at ya, Cleopatra coming at ya. I was like thinking in my head, I remember this song, but I do not remember these girls. Like, I remember this song clear as day, clear as day. But I'm like, where do these girls come from? So this was actually my first time actually seeing this video. So this was the three sisters from Moss Side. So they had a whole TV show. They had a whole TV show, and I was like, damn, I didn't even know what that was about. I thought this was funny too. So this is Anne-Marie, Why Don't We Fall in Love? But he playing around with the money. Listening to Why Don't We Fall in Love by Anne-Marie playing with that money. I wish I could play the sound, but I can't for copyright reasons. Now look at this. See, the ladies is trying to, they've been watching the way Black women do hair and all these things, how we do extensions and stuff, and the ladies. Oops, I think did it share right? Let me just make sure my sound is good. And so I thought this was kind of, they showing how they do. The ladies are doing the weave now. Let me just make sure my sound is good. And just look at it for yourself. They got some work to do. They got to work on it because she's putting the weave, she's attaching the weave not to the head, but to the girl's clothes. And so when she dances and she moves her head a certain way, the weave is attached to the damn clothes and not to her head, like how you do with sewing or how you do clip-ins. She attached the weave to the back of the girl's shirt to make the hair longer. Look at this, ladies.
स्किप हो जाएगी तो वीडियो में आपको आज मैं बता रही हूँ क्योंकि मैं आज मैं जो अपनी राधा रानी की लुक क्रिएट कर
She's attaching it to. Do you see that? She's attaching it to the clothes. This look crazy. Because if she dances, then the hair is gonna be all you're gonna see is a track connected to the damn shirt. And it's not attached to her head properly. So why didn't this lady just get some clip-ins, part the hair and put the clip-ins into the head? Or just have a sewing. So they learning from the lady. She want to do a little hair, but she don't know how to put it in. And they even got the flat iron trying to do, like press and curl. You see? And this was born to her wedding. I'm telling you, if that, let me do can I do full screen with this? If that, if that fall, if her hair moved just even a couple, it just is going to look crazy. And they were saying that she's saying nobody's going to know. So see how they got that weave on there on a shirt like that? So ladies, come on, don't do this. Don't copy this method. I'm telling you right now. And they even got her, you see, and that's how the final result look. It's not the right texture. It's not what they trying to learn. But my thing is, if she wanted it that damn long, you should have got you, you should have got you some clip-ins. Cause I never saw nothing like that in my life. I was flabbergasted. To put the track into the damn shirt. Ooh, give him Jesus. Now look at this. Now this is what the old ladies are doing for exercise at the fitness center. And to be honest, it's not bad. It's this might be something up my alley come my granny days. um these ladies, look how they got them dancing. Look how they dancing. They dancing to Raheem Devon. I remember Raheem, and they doing pole fitness, but they're senior pole fitness. So these is old ass ladies on the stripper poles, but this is a part of the exercise class at the damn old folk home, at the nursing home now. They got pole fitness dance classes even at the nursing home. And to be honest, you laugh at them, and that ain't no bad idea. They learning, you know. I thought that was hilarious. You know, you see, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And so that's for the elders. Don't knock out, don't knock it. The old elders are doing pole dance classes now. They keep in shape, to keep the exercise going. That's not a bad way. You see? It's not a bad way at all. And so this is the rich aunties with no kids. Somebody made this meme. I thought that was funny. And so this was a 3-year-old girl. Her mom's making her some breakfast. And she's jamming and having her some breakfast. Wanted to show sisters bonding. But look at this. They doing this is the do the stanky leg. I wish I could play it, but I know it with copyright thing. So this is do the stanky leg, do the stanky leg. I'll play it and then I'll remove the song. I didn't play that, but watch this. So they said this is what happens when you cut PBS funding, and this is at the Sesame Street party. And they have the Sesame Street characters dancing to this. They doing this stanky. I thought that was funny. They could dance, the little characters. I bet you they black underneath. The way this one is, they getting them knees. They did. Cookie Monster is dancing. They look at that way Cookie Monster is dancing. That's just way too familiar with that. I thought that was so funny. I thought this was funny too. Somebody's grandma had this as their doormat. I don't know if y'all remember. This one is viral back in my day with Jocelyn say, "Oh, why is you here? Oh, why is you here?" She got that on her grandmother got that on her house mat. Oh, why is you here? That was a viral, like a meme, kind of, from the show back in the day. If you got that answer, how wise you here? Now watch this. This is gonna make y'all laugh. Oh, watch this part right here. His wig. He had a man weave, and his man weave it became unglued. Y'all should hear the song too. I can't play the song for copyright reasons, but his song is called "I'm Different." I'm different. Uh, hit the floor with with my ceiling missing. Something he pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing, and you see this his hair weave, and he was so embarrassed. But dang, like he took his jacket off. He thought his hair. He didn't glue it on right. You see it, and even the girls was looking like, "What in the world?" You see their face, and he tried to put it back and realized, and he got embarrassed and left. But oh my gosh. It's only the people that was directly around that kind of saw it, but it don't look like nobody else was really paying attention. But that's still, well, now the whole internet see it, so I could imagine that's embarrassing. But things happen. It happens. He should have glued it on better and stop trying to make a grand entrance like he was the shit trying to take his jacket off. You should have known if you go when you do stuff like that, you gotta wear a jacket. You can't wear no pull on, and you didn't put it on right. Whew. So this was the girls doing the bridge. They doing trampoline at the bridge. The mother go on the IG. She bad. He running. I'm gonna catch you online the next time. Oh, thanks, Trish Jackass. This is some girls doing the creative acrobatics. I kind of think that's kind of dangerous to do that on that bridge, but it looks good nonetheless. Obviously, it's very creative. But I was kind of nervous, they could just one small move. But I think they got that net. I forgot they got that some type of net where people. I guess they would have been okay, right? Because they got some sort of net. I see in the background. Yeah, they got a net. I didn't even realize that. Wow. And here is another one. With them Africans like we was showing you earlier. Now they doing this is the other form of Uber transportation that they doing, and they doing called is this parkour or something? Because this is really dangerous. But look how their skill is. He don't got no hands on the wheels. That's how this is the other form of transportation. Look at this. Look how he had no hands on the wheels and nothing. But look how dangerous he's doing it. See, he's showing his skill set, how he almost can get hit by the car. And that's kind of really dangerous. He could literally lose his life like that, you know. But he feels that, you know, he's skilled. He's really, really skilled. But one more wrong move, and he hit, and the car bumps into him. He falls off the car. He hits his head on the concrete, or he gets ran over by accident, or he breaks a bone. He falls the wrong way and break his back or break his legs or something. I just feel like that's really, 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 really calculated risk or kind of foolish. But you know, um, nonetheless, he's showing his skill set. I see the skills. Obviously, great control over the bike. Obviously, but it just seems so risky. He got a big old scar on his face, ashy hands, and so he's been used to the danger. It's like the Lion King when he says, "I live on the wild side of danger. I live for." Remember when they say danger? I live for the wild side of danger. Like how Simba was saying that in the Lion King. That's really what this guy is exuding. Real seriousness. It's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, I see the skill set. I mean, he's riding with 2 feet, one on one wheel and one. I mean, come on, it's amazing. Now look at this. Look at this one. This gorilla wants to save her baby. Boom. You see it?
Nothing beats a jet to holiday.
You see it? She was not playing. Yeah, that was funny. Look at this one.
You kill us! You will kill us!
You will come down.
You hear her? She's saying, "You will kill us."
Calm down. Daddy said they want to kill you. Who will kill you?
Tiba, you're so dramatic.
You kill us! You kill us! You will kill us!
You will calm down. Calm down. Daddy said they want to kill you. Who will kill you?
Tiba, you're so dramatic.
You will kill us. You know what was interesting is she kind of calmed down and realized, like once she realized her mother was laughing, and when she said, "You're so dramatic," her energy changed. Like remember the last time she said, "You will kill us," because she realized, okay, maybe I am being kind of dramatic. Okay, is this some sort of show? You know, because kids don't know. You know, she's but she just see fire and know that fire it could be dangerous. They putting it on the food like that. She's like, "You will kill us." I gotta watch that. It was so funny.
You kill us! You kill us! You will kill us!
You will calm down. Calm down. Daddy said they want to kill you. Who will kill you?
Tiba, you're so dramatic.
Oh, but that was so funny. Watch this part, y'all. This is hilarious. Here goes some old ass aunties being freaks. That's funny because we saw the old ladies doing the pole dance, and now they doing that. They getting crazy out here. Oh, this one was real funny too. About and he watch this pastor right here. He said, "Don't trust in man." Watch this.
Never put your trust in man, but always put your trust in the Lord. Meet us at Wounded Heart Ministries every Sunday morning at 9 a.m.
And that was his commercial, but do y'all see how that shit was funny as hell, that little boy?
Never put your trust in man, but always put your trust in the Lord. Meet us at Wounded Heart Ministries every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Never put your trust in man, but always put your trust in the Lord. Meet us at Wounded Heart Ministries every Sunday morning at 9 a.m.
Now this one is funny. This and she's playing Whitney Houston song. I believe that children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a chance. Okay, so she's playing this song with these little ass kids. So Whitney Houston say the meme says this can't be the children Whitney is singing about. So that song is playing in the background as these kids are doing all of this. You know. See, she played that. And they saying this can't be the children Whitney is singing about. But you know what's interesting? You know why I know that song like that by heart? I went to when I was at Salvation Army camp when I was a little kid. They had these black ladies that would be the counselors. They would be the counselors at the camp. And they low key, they no lie, they made us stand in the line and learn that song and sing it as a part of a performance that we were going to be doing for our parents. And so when I was a little kid, they lined us all up and they taught us this song. What I believe that children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. And I remember find your strength in love. And so they would make us sing that song, and we were all, like a choir. We all had to hold hands and move side to side. And then that was old. It was old ass black ladies that was teaching us, and they was so happy. They was playing it. Oh, I remember literally. It was an all day excursion learning that damn song and doing the hand movements and moving side to side. And they would make us sing it on point too. They would play it. They kept reminding it and playing it, reminded to play. And we would say, "I believe that children are the future. Teach them well and let them." Like talk about high level programming, but at least these black ladies, those elders, that song was so positive. They're the future. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I succeed, at least I'm telling you, I have not listened to that song probably since I was 6 years old, but I remember all them lyrics from that. I am telling you for a fact, like this little snippet right here, it's such a small snippet. But soon as I heard that song, it triggered. I was like, okay, I remember technically that whole song. And we would have to sing it on point, find your strength in love. And we would be singing it and go and look, going side to side, and a little hand movement, find and it just brought back so many memories. I'm like, I remember they was teaching us that over and over again, and we had to actually perform it too. Like we had to perform it. I believe the children are the future, and the parents, they really enjoyed it. They was just looking like, okay, but for them to be making us sing that was one of the songs that's one of the memories that I have for life, because we were at the Salvation Army camp when they had these old black women that was watching over us and stuff, and they got a joy out of making us dance and sing. They had this thing where we would do a lot of dancing. I remember they would make us read too. They would had to, some of us couldn't read. I was 6 years old. I didn't know how to read yet. But they would make us read, and then they would be making us do it, sing and dance. And so that's definitely one of the memories I have with that Whitney Houston song. Excuse me, the burp. Um, that Whitney Houston song. Find your strength in love. If I succeed, you can't take away my dignity. Remember, you can't take away my dignity because the great. But that song's like, that's high level programming because we was standing up. We had to stand in a line, hold each other's hands. These nothing but black kids at the camp. Hold each other's hands and rock side to side and sing. It's like being programmed. I believe that children. I'm telling you, we had to sing it. I'm telling you, every motherfucking day. I cannot kid. While that camp was going, I cannot kid you that we were singing that song every day. And so when just to see them, they say this can't be the children Whitney is singing about. No, we weren't doing all this as a kid. Now we did have that huggy, that little huggy that kid had. Now I grew up having huggies out the window, but we weren't sticking up our middle fingers or nothing. Look at these little kids are sticking up their little middle finger and stuff and doing all of that. But I have to say, I definitely did stuff like that as a kid outside the window. Like this girl with that huggy. Oh, that was me all day as a 5-year-old. Are you kidding me? I just wasn't sticking up my middle finger, but that this little girl with that huggy. That's all about little black kids. And, you gonna dance with your huggy with your juice to your shit. I just don't agree with the little girl in the middle sticking up her middle finger. Well, we did that all day. See, like that. And they got the song, Whitney Houston song, I Believe the Children of the Future playing in the background. So it makes it even funnier. Like if I can't unmute it, but that's that's so funny. I thought this was cute too, this little doll they got. They making the dolls really voluptuous with thick thighs and jumbo titties now. An afro. I think this doll is sexy. I think the doll is cute. But I'm like, they making these dolls. I said, Lord have mercy. Barbie 2025. They did a good job. She got the Megan. Is that the Megan Denise? Because he got our dolls back in our day. They didn't have them type of the knees where they could bend the knees. A cute dog, a cute doll nonetheless. That doll was really cute. I thought this was funny. Look how they read each other, Felicia Rashad and Debbie Allen. This is how this is the real bougie read. I thought this was funny.
Hey girl,
what are you wearing?
I'm wearing yellow. What are you wearing? I'm looking at you.
What are you, yellow what?
Don't try it. I'm in suede and silk.
I know Bill Cosby paid for it. Don't try it.
Start with me this morning. Don't you start with me this morning. I have a job. I can buy my own clothes.
Just because you're on network television, I'm on syndicated, don't you be uppity with me.
Hey,
they reading the shit out of each other, and they trying to act like they not. Just because you're on your network TV and I'm on syndicated, don't you get uppity with me? She wasn't even being uppity, but she said, "What are you wearing?" But that is kind of like, why does it matter? But I know Bill. Like that's kind of like what? That would be kind of weird. And that she did throw some. She was being shady. She was.
Girl,
what are you wearing?
I'm wearing yellow. What are you wearing? I'm looking at you.
What are you, yellow what?
Don't try it. I'm in suede and silk.
I know Bill Cosby paid.
They still say that. They were saying that they did. Don't try it. Oh, you tried it, bitch. You tried it. They were saying that's where they come from. I didn't know they were saying it that long though. Don't try it. Damn, they've been saying that long. I thought that was kind of new because that made it. Well, Buffalo always gets sayings late, but yeah, we say you tried it, bitch. You tried it. That's really how the hood say it. But she's saying don't try it.
Don't start with me this morning. Don't you start with me this morning. I have a job. I can buy my own clothes.
Just because you're on network television, I'm on syndicated, don't you be uppity with me.
Hey, girl.
They laughing and they can't stand each other. Hey, girl. That's like that part in and it's funny because that's like that part in Friday when she's like, when you get home, and the lady's like, okay, but she's being fake. She ain't gonna call that girl. And look at this. They say me if this economy doesn't get any better. Now, this was a part of the scene in the Players Club. I don't know if you guys remember the Players Club, but I used to, the Players Club was one of my favorite movies. I ain't gonna hold you. I remember my brothers had a girlfriend at the time, and she had a kid named Pudgy. And when we was kids, because she was like our living nanny and my granny, she was like our living nanny. Um, this is, she had broke up with my brother, but she was still staying there with us rent free as long as she cooked us meals and watched us. And she could stay there rent free as long as she literally was like cooking our breakfast, lunch, and dinner and washing us up and doing our hair and watching clothes. Like that was like the deal that my granny had gave her. Like, oh, you can stay as long as you want, as long as you help me out with the kids. And she was like, okay. And she had her own kid named Pudgy, and we would all play together. And we would one of the things we would do as kids was reenact this movie. Now, kids ain't supposed to be watching no dance Players Club, right? But this was my favorite movie as a kid. One of my favorite movies. And you know that scene when Diamond and Ebony start fighting? Me and Pudgy, we would reenact that scene all the time. And we would switch roles. This is for Ebony, that kick. This is for me. And then that. And no lie, I would literally reenact that movie. Like, with. We were like 6 and 7 years old, jumping on each other's back. When she put Baker in the mirror, I would be on the couch. I would be Baker on the couch, and then somebody would have to play the role of getting their ass whooped, and then somebody would have to be the role of Diamond. And if we never wanted to play the role of the ones getting our ass whooped of Ronnie, so we would just switch roles. We're like, okay, I'll be Ronnie first, and you be Diamond. I think it was her name Ronnie. I forgot. But anyways, this movie was ghetto as hell. But somebody said this is them if the economy doesn't get
Eyes on me.
We used to reenact that part too. It was ridiculous. That say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Remember that part? Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. We used to reenact that too. I don't know where Tanya was at because we would make sure she was sleeping when we would reenact this movie though. We would watch it while she was sleeping too, because I'm pretty sure she would have turned it off. But we would put the VHS in while she was sleeping, and then we would reenact that part. Reenact this. We would reenact this. It's terrible because we was young as hell. But not what I wouldn't let my kids watch this as far as I could. And she never did take off her clothes, but this was the movie back in the day. And she improv that. She didn't have a script for this movie. A lot of people don't know that. And she was working at a paralegal at this time. Like I believe people didn't know that either. That she was actually like actually professional behind the scenes. Like that's why you never really saw her. She did this one movie, and kind of did her own thing. But a lot of people didn't know she went into the legal field. Her right here in the real, in the real world, she was like really professional, having to wear suits and shit after this movie. That was funny. And then, so we got a little bit more. I thought I had more than I wanted to show. Oh, I guess that was it. Okay, and then I thought this was so cute. This little boy getting ready for picture day. He did his own hair and he did his own outfit. He created his own outfit and he did his own hair. But I really like the hair and I like how he feels free in his hair. And I thought that was beautiful, for him to, he rocking that afro. And I'm pretty sure he had an awesome picture. That was his picture day look. He wanted the afro with his, and he picked his outfit. Picture day was always big, and I remember, always wanting to have my hair done for picture day and whatnot, and some kind of cool braids. And so I thought that was a beautiful hairstyle for him to wear for his picture day. He did his own afro. I wish I could have saw the picture. He got a lot of light in his eyes, and I just thought he was such a cute kid, to have that happy moment. Now look at this. The girls are reenacting the touchdown. They reenact the touchdown now. I never saw this in cheerleading. In high school, I did cheerleading. And so I thought this was very fascinating to watch. But this is how they're doing it. They're reenacting the black girls are so dramatic. I thought this was so cute though.
Matthews Jr. on the keeper.
So they reenact the touchdowns now. I was like, oh, that's so cute. And also, ladies, a lot of the ladies they wanted the nipple piercings, but they didn't want to actually get their nipples pierced. They got a painless solution now where you don't have to get no piercing required. It's called painless nipple decoration. So I wanted to share this because I had a lot of friends that would get nipple piercings. And I was always concerned, like, what happens if it rips out, or anything could happen. What if it rips if it rips out the nipple, and then they ended up having. I wanted to know about the breastfeeding and all those things. But they got painless solutions now for women. For those that want to have nipple piercing or a design of such. They actually and I thought that was different. I said, wow, because now you don't have to get the piercing, because you used to have to get it. So that's what they have now these days. See, we got them like that now. So I was looking at that. I said, well, that still look like it would hurt if you got to pinch them together around the nipple like that. But I guess it's better. Like again, like I said, I had friends, they would get both nipples pierced with them needles through the nipple. And I used to be like, dang, like, does that hurt? No. But now they got these out. So I'm going to get up on off of here. I thought this one was the funniest though. This one right here.
Never put your trust
Hey, that dude, that baby fall.
in man, but always put your trust in the Lord. Meet us at Wounded Heart Ministries every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Never put
That was hilarious. That was hilarious. And then I'm telling you, this Uber, the African Uber, oh, that one get me too. She out there doing her makeup. She got to trust that he ain't gonna drop her ass. He was like, "How does he stop?" And Rhonda looks said, "There's a pool at the end of the ramp." I want to know how he stopped too. They ain't going just as fast. They going faster than the damn motorcycle. Going faster than the motorcycle. Good God. I'm telling you, that's not a bad way to get a extra couple of dollars if things go south and people get they having transportation issues. Shit. You ain't got to pay for no gas. All you need to do is keep them skates crisp. You just got to keep them skates in good condition. And I would say he should probably have hopefully he has some sort of back protection. She need to have and honestly, I would make them wear a helmet too. But she on there. She on there. Have mercy. And you see them saying this is a queen treatment. And somebody said different level of trust there. I'll pick you up for 7 p.m. Wear something nice. Somebody said, well, at least he's not hanging out of the passenger side of his best friend's ride. Like the TLC song. You hear somebody say this continent is not for beginners. It's not. It's not for this because I know I was too outdone when I seen this. I said, get the fuck out of here. I was too outdone when I seen this come on my damn feed. I've never seen nothing like that in my life. And I thought we was ghetto when we made our own little grills. I remember my granny I don't know what happened to our grills. We eventually ended up getting a grill. But we had back in them days, this was before like the city garbage can shit. We had 10, remember the metal garbage cans? Y'all remember the metal? Remember the garbage cans were metal back in the day. Metal trash can. I wonder if they make them things again with the lid, the metal trash can with the lid. But these things, you could build a damn grill off of them. No lie, these right here. Growing up, we had these, and my granny had one of these, and she was like, um, she had charcoal, and she was like, I want a grill, and she was trying to get the grill from Sabra, I think. Um, but it didn't come in time, and then so we took the rack out off of the stove, that rack out of the oven stove that you put. We took the rack out of the oven stove. We took this can out. We went outside in the backyard. She put charcoal inside of here, and then that rack over there, and no lie, grilled hot dogs and burgers. Yes, she did. Yes, she did, and put that top over that just like that. Yes, she did. And if I remember that clear as day. Now we did eventually get a damn grill, but for whatever reason, this is what we had at that time. I thought that was wild because I remember people. I didn't see anything wrong with it because I was a kid, but obviously when family members came over and saw what she did, they would start laughing, busting out laughing like that's crazy. But we did end up getting a grill, sure did. Now this was a real type of metal. Like I don't know what type of metal it was, but it sure could take a damn grill. It could take fire. It sure could. It sure could. It didn't melt or nothing. I wonder if they still make them like that, where they could take a damn fire, right? Do they still make them like that? Where it could, because these motherfuckers, it was steel, galvanized steel. I wonder if whatever can take some fire. I'm telling you, we had a whole grill going. hmm Let me get my ass up on off of here. hmm So y'all be easy. I'm gonna take it off Rumble first. If you're on Rumble, I'm gonna head up off of here. God bless. Let me take it off Rumble real quick. Okay, so we got it off Rumble. And now I'm gonna take it off here. So you'll be easy. And thanks for stopping by, everybody that stopped by. Enjoy your weekend.